Hi gang, welcome back. My name's Jess. This is the Scapegoat Club, and today's video I wanted to talk about the taboo of being estranged from your family, especially being estranged from elderly parents. Fun times. Hey my lovelies, welcome back. So in this video I was thinking about being estranged from family, and especially difficult, toxic, elderly parents. So here's the thing. I think we have two problems. First of all, we have to deal with the fact that our toxic and dysfunctional parents or parents are very, very, very unlikely to change, and that the dynamic and the behaviors that we now see and that explain so much of our childhood and what we've gone through in our lives are they are patterns that we have no ability to change. If we're talking narcissism or borderline personality, they are disorders that need they need professional help, but even then they're very rarely helped, partly because it's too difficult for the person, or they don't want to and they don't see a need. So when we are kind of grappling with the truth about our family members, it's really hard and heartbreaking to realize that we are dealing with a dynamic and a behavioral problem that we can't fix. And I think on top of that, there's this huge problem that being estranged from family is really, I think, a taboo subject in our culture, or the culture I'm in. We don't talk about being estranged from family members. We do not view it as a good thing at all. And I think if we're looking at elderly parents, it's really, really hard. I would say if someone leaves an emotionally or physically abusive marriage, then I think that really the general consensus is, yeah, you need to do that because it's unhealthy and you deserve better in your life. But I think what we don't talk about is that those toxic relationships can be evident within our family units, and that the abuse can be perpetrated by family members, and that in that case we still have a duty and we still have the need and the right and the necessity to look after ourselves and move on. Though it's interesting, the more I talk about these subjects and the more people I interact with, the more I find that dysfunction in families and difficult situations is really, really common. But we don't talk about it, and I don't know why. I know why in my family, because of the narcissistic type dynamic where there's a lot of family honor at stake, and we don't want to, air dirty laundry, and we need to keep things within the family. And however, I do think that when we are in abusive and toxic situations, it's really, really important that we talk about it and that we support each other when all else fails and we feel that we have to, make those breaks to be healthy. And I was also thinking about the challenge we have with covert narcissists when it's not obvious actually even an overt narcissist, sometimes it's not obvious really that the abuse that can happen, the flip side of the relationship, because narcissistic people present very well. We do reward narcissistic behavior in our society, in Western society, And so people who are confident and loud and maybe funny, or have lots of money, or have lots of prestige in the community, those are the people we generally look up to. And so it's hard to see behind closed doors, and when that kind of, when that is maybe a facade, and that the reality is a lot different. And I think that the dynamic when we're talking aging parents is even more tricky. And one really interesting thing about estranging oneself from one's parents is that often it will happen when we are adults, when we are established and comfortable in a lot of other areas of our lives, but we start to question the bigger things in our lives, and try and figure out the more delicate parts of life. We try and figure out what the meaning is and why we're doing things, and when we get to the bottom of what we want from life and what we want from our relationships. And the challenge is that if we are physically distanced, maybe from our families, we can find that we have a different life almost in our worlds versus that life that we had when we interact with our families. And when those two lives differ so greatly, we find ourselves questioning what is really going on with our family. And so then the challenge becomes, when we discover that actually the problem is with our aging parents rather than with ourselves, there's also this moral obligation of, well, what do we do? Because I don't know about you, but according to my parents, they're just nice, harmless little old, my mum's a nice little old lady, my dad's an upstanding member of the local retirement club. What could they possibly have done that would warrant this terrible behavior from their adult child to disown them? And it's a really tough kind of sell to say, hey, yeah, these what looks like this kind of harmless old couple, grandparents, they volunteer, they just potter around, and what can they possibly be doing that is so terrible that me as a functioning adult being abused by them? What is wrong with me? And that's the problem. Is we still blame the victim. And I don't want to be a victim. I don't want to use that word, but we look at the person that's kind of blowing the whistle rather than the person that's committing the offense. And I don't know about you, but I'm trying to think of any in our culture, any kind of stories where the nice little old lady turns out to be, the evil one. Or, people tell their aging parents they just don't want anything to do with them. That's not what happens in the movies. We reconcile, as everybody comes together before the end, everything's forgiven. Well, that's just not true. And so I think it's really important to remember that this taboo we have about cutting off aging family members, how could you do that to them in their old age? How could you, they're just in their twilight years. How can you be so cruel and heartless to do things that to them in this stage of their lives? It's just not the reality. The fact is that people can abuse at any age, that the older that people get, especially people with personality disorders, it means they're less likely to change. And age is no excuse. So, my friends, if you are in the situation where you feel that you need to cut off a family member, and they are older, and you think that, oh, maybe I can carry on, or maybe I should forgive them because they're a senior person. And don't get me wrong, I really do think we should respect everybody in our society regardless of age. But when someone is abusive, it doesn't matter what age they are. And actually, for this argument goes, they could be a minor. If someone is abusing you, your first and most important and only priority is to stop the abuse. And so I hope you won't let the age factor overly influence your decisions for what you need to do that is right for you. Thanks so much for watching, friends. I hope you are doing okay. This is a really, really difficult challenge to navigate, and I'm with you on this all the way through. So please take care. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for being a part of the community. If you feel that you want to share your experience or a comment, please do so down below. I love to hear from you, and I will talk to you again soon. Thanks, my friends. Bye for now.